so much for listening. The returning legend, Steve Laffey, former mayor of Cranston Road, Rhode Island, author, as you see behind us, Primary Mistake. Definitely check out the book on Amazon.com. And he is also a movie producer. We'll talk a little bit about that toward the end, which is, it seems like he's Nostradamus. I feel like I say that every time he's on the damn show. But regardless of that, Steve, always a pleasure to have you on. So much to talk about in so little time.
Yeah. I love to be with you. Keep going. Let's go. There's a lot of good
let's
things.
kick it around, Steve, because I'll tell you what, I'm down here in Orlando, Florida right now. The gas prices are $4.59, just went out this morning, and their talk is that it's going to be up to $5 by the summertime, July. And it seems like President Trump, he keeps saying the gas prices are going to go down soon. It's going to go down. And it's Biden's fault. And I'm thinking, like, again, whether we're for the war in Iran or against it, how is it still Biden's fault? Why is everything still Biden's fault? And it's not just the gas. It's not the war in Iran. Everything that he brings up is Biden's fault. Biden's been gone for over a year now. We're almost on year 2 for Biden being gone. Steve, what is going on with this man? When you said he was like basically demented about 2 years ago, I'm starting to think that you are 100% correct. I said maybe that's a little far-fetched, a little too much of a push off the drawing board, but it seems like you were 100% right.
I was. He has malignant narcissism, and it gets worse as you get older. So he gets angrier. So there's a night in the middle of the night he'll just tweet out that he's going to destroy Iran with like nuclear weapons. He doesn't say nuclear weapons, but it's crazy stuff, right? Along the way, does he do some good things? He does. By the way, another prediction: will his family and him be brought down by all the inside corruption eventually? The answer to that is yes. So just that's not now. That's when Democrats control things, and then his sons can't answer questions in front of Congress, even though he's pardoned them. No one cares. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff will happen. But let's go specifically to Iran. I have said since I was 20, I could send over the articles from Bowdoin College that we should have regime change in Iran since I was 20. But President Trump didn't get prepared. In other words, there was a lot of things to do to get prepared, fill up the strategic reserve that Biden did. Not empty out, took out 300 million barrels. He could have, there's a lot of things he could have done. So he didn't. He just does what he does, right? So in the end, do we still win? Yeah, America still wins. The greatness of America and the geography of America, the ingenuity of Americans overcomes stupidity lots of times, okay? So we win because over the years to come, they're going to dig a tunnel. They already started it and they didn't finish, to the Mediterranean to bring oil. They're gonna bypass the Straits of Hormuz and go right through Oman someday with what will look like the version of the Suez Canal. All right, they're gonna build another pipeline across Saudi Arabia to take it to the Red Sea. All these things will happen, but America is exporting 5 to 6 million barrels a day of crude today, right? And that's why Venezuela became important. Now, Venezuela became important. He handled that totally wrong by leaving in power a ruthless lady who would put you in prison tomorrow morning if you traveled to the country, if she could, and kill you, and has killed many, many people. These are bad, bad people. President Trump and his crazy brain part. There's a good part. There's a bad part. His crazy brain part is like he likes these strong leaders. Have you noticed that no one seems to know that, as I said a long time ago, Russia lost the war? Russia lost the war. And I said this would happen at the very beginning. And so this is happening, but he loves Putin, right? So in Iran, he's going to declare victory all the time to try to get oil prices down. As we speak, they're going down a little bit, right? Like 5% or whatever today. So these are some of the things that are really, really brutal to watch and really, really brutal to, to see over time.
Well, my thing is, Steve, just going back to the gas prices and put the exclamation point, I did hear that as well, that the price is dropping as far as the oil. But again, there is talk, and we can take it with a grain of salt, whether it's, researching with the Wall Street Journal, AI. I've read and looked at all these things, and they said it's going to hit $5. I want to talk about the economic volatility of this, because, again, the middle class is dead. Who can pay for $5? Whether you're middle class, a little upper middle class, I mean, it adds up eventually, and it's not just about the gas, it's about the food prices, it's about stuff you buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
With along with the tariff issue, everything is getting taxed and taxed and taxed. This was supposed to be an administration that was supposed to give us tax relief, but instead the big
Well-
beautiful bill just gave us taxes on taxes on taxes.
Well,
So
Yeah. Let's rephrase that. We have big tax cuts that we should not have put into the tax code. In my opinion, either for Trump's tax cuts in 2017, they're just adding to deficits. But all of the tax breaks people are getting today, no tax on tips, which is very little, no tax on whatever, mortgage
well,
deduction.
that's going to end in 2028 unless the Democrats, when they take over along with Trump, put that back in.
Yeah, it'll end,
That
but-
ends when he's gone.
But most of the money for the middle class is going of any of these tax cuts or whatever they've got is going to pay for increased cost in oil today. Oil, and by the way, oil goes into everything. It's in your plastics. It's in your house. It's in your car. We talk about the car, but it's everything. It's in your food. Stuff has to be driven. Diesel prices are off the charts. Now, if indeed Trump had planned and we told people this was going to happen, we had to do it because their ability to send nuclear weapons one day or missiles can hit, these different places. People should have been okay with it. Like what happened in North Korea, and that's Clinton and Bush, a Democrat and Republican, who allowed North Korea to get a nuclear weapon, and they have nuclear weapons that can now hit the United States. Mm-hmm. So their evil is going to be there for a long time unless we have a way to take them out. In this case, if we don't win in Iran right now, they will undoubtedly get a nuclear weapon. How? They'll buy one. They'll have one shipped in. And by the way, this is different. These mullahs are different. There's been no regime change so far. Regime change would be that a secular person, not like the Shah, he was a bad guy, but someone like that, right, comes in. I don't know how that's going to happen. No one can get on this show and say how it's going to play out. Trump just didn't get people planned, but I'll give him credit for this one thing. If he wins, right, and they change and they don't get a nuclear weapon, and those straits open up one day, whenever, I don't know when. Today, could be today. By the time you put the show up, it could happen. But it's probably not going to happen. Then all the credit goes to Trump anyway for sticking it out.
Yeah. SteveLaffey.com. Steve, I want to get into this because I think that there's a lot of distrust still from the American people going back to 2003 when we said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Right. Saddam Hussein was involved with Al-Qaeda. Obviously, none of that stuff came true, and it seems like it's almost that repeat playbook with Iran. So that's why I think there's a lot of distrust on the war. Trump's approval rating has went down, along with the economic issues that we've spoken about too. What would you tell people that do have distrust with the government that think Iran is just Iraq?
Well, Iran, and I've said, again, you can look back what I've said. Iran is not Iraq. Iran has always been the focal point since 79 of terror from that part of the world. Not Iraq. Not Saudi Arabia. Not great people, by the way. They chop people up in machines and whatever, right? Say throw the homosexuals off the top of roofs if they want. They're bad people. They're all bad people. We have nothing in common with these people. We have nothing in common with Islamic-run places. They have no freedom, and they don't really have a religion, and they subjugate women over and over again to wear these heavy 40-pound things in the middle of 105-degree weather, right? Like it's what happened in Afghanistan again today because of Joe Biden. By the way, think back. As I said back then, I wasn't into going into Afghanistan because everybody loses. But once you're there, keeping those bases there would be easier to bomb Iran, right? So anyway, what I would tell people is Iran is the problem, was the problem, and let's give some credit to Donald Trump for trying to deal with the problem. The problem with Donald Trump, terrible people he hired all the time. He hires terrible people. Secretary of Defense, they don't know what they're doing. They're not people that you can trust. He keeps having to start getting rid of them, like Pam Bondi, because they're terrible at their jobs, right? So here's his problem. He's only getting sycophants in. I said this from the very beginning. You heard me say this, right? So this is what the problem is. He doesn't have credible people running stuff. Now, you can get mad at like William Barr or John Bolton or Mike Pompeo. they were serious people, right? You can be mad about Dick Cheney. He had a serious life when he was alive. You can be not conservative or conservative and say, Laffey, I hated those people. You can hate them, but they were competent in what they actually told the president. The president doesn't do press briefs in the morning. Doesn't do them. As mayor of Cranston, I did them. I mean, like, stuff like, when are we going to put up some new signs? Why is there graffiti on that stop sign? Let's do this and that. He doesn't do any of that. He just tweets stuff out. Now, he has good political instincts, but this is going to be a disaster in November for Republicans. And that's a disaster for Trump. He knows this. But, it leads you into things that are so silly that the sideshows of all this are what? Like, I know we got to get to talk about the tearing up half of the White House, leaving a giant moon hole, saying it's all going to be done by private people. And literally yesterday, the Republicans sneak in $1 billion to help him out. Not all Republicans like that, by the way. Thank God we have Rand Paul. Thank God we have a couple of people who are like, what are you talking about? But this is what he does because his narcissism is so great. He's naming buildings after himself that are against the law. Right? The Kennedy Center, it's against the law. It's a federal law in 64 that you can't name it anything other than John F. Kennedy. He did. No one seems to care.
Well, you just tapped on two things that I wanted to finish the interview with, but let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Down here in Florida, Palm Beach International Airport, near the president's house where he flies in and out of Mar-a-Lago to and from.
Right.
They just are going to spend $7 million to rename Palm Beach International Airport to the Donald J. Trump International Airport. Along with that, inside the airport, the Trump family is going to have merchandise where they're going to make money off that. I mean, these guys make Biden look like child play.
Yes, it's child play. Now, so on that topic, it is child play. Biden had a son, who he pardoned, by the way, said he wouldn't pardon because he's a criminal himself, who sold $500,000 paintings. Like the painting behind me is done by the national, that's my wife, by the way, straight behind me. That's the national winner of portrait painting, Ariana Richards, who, by the way, is also the child actor in Jurassic Park, the one that young lady screaming. She's really a painter. So that's not $500,000, just so everybody knows. But Hunter Biden's paintings are like child's, like they're like me doing it. Like, so but yes, what's happened with his coins, which he's made hundreds of millions. Someone just put out something where he's made a couple of $1 billion on this stuff. His net worth is going up, but they're going to go get that from him. Like he doesn't need the money. This is what malignant narcissism does to an entire family, though, right? Melania Trump is into like a documentary that's, I guess, unwatchable, but gets paid $27 million to make. Like, unwatchable. Doesn't help young children. She's not in UNICEF. She's not over in Africa helping starving children. It's like I don't even know because I can't watch it. It's like 6 months of her she's a very pretty lady. I think she got her English a little better after being in the country for so long. But this is what he's doing. These are the sideshows, right? And the ultimate sideshow is a judge. And I wanted to get the quote. The judge. Where's the quote? When it comes to the ballroom, the judge who stopped it, Judge Leon, appointed by George W. Bush, right? His quote is that, quote, the president of the United States is a steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner. Everybody knows this, except Trump. He refuses to disclose who gave him the money to redo it. Now he can't redo it. I think the ultimate thing to show Trump's narcissism, which, remember, for people listening, is just a reflection of the short-term nature and the narcissism in our country today. We need another great awakening. We need another comeback to Jesus for this country, because being 20 and having your face covered with tattoos, right? Or a woman with stuff coming out of her nose, like, this is not okay, folks. Like stop it. Like stop doing these. You can't take them off. Like, Like, stop. Like, what's going on with people? Like, this is not okay. By the way, it goes along with this third part that we'll do another show on this, I hope, is that the national debt is now bigger than the gross domestic product. Never happened since World War II, when there was a real war, not the stupidity of not fixing one single problem. Trump will not fix one major problem in our fiscal budget. He doesn't care. He thinks
Can
he's
you
good.
tap on that quickly?
Yeah,
Because again, down here in Orlando, when I'm up in
yeah,
Rhode Island, there's homeless people everywhere. There's always been homeless
yeah.
people, but it hasn't been as bad as it is now. You can't blame it all on Biden.
No,
This
no. I
is
mean, listen. This is a disaster in our country. Um, you can't just say it's Democratic governors in these states. It is partially, by the way, California, because Republicans
right.
run
Yeah.
Florida, right? But it's warmer with they get more homeless people. But these endemic problems, our country, Bush for 6 days was going to deal with Social Security. Go back to the spring of 2005, I think. 6 days it lasted. He said had such he actually was going to actually try to fix Social Security. This thing is busted, right? So older people like me are totally hosing younger people like you every day to the tune of like trillions per year. We're taking from young people. And this is why I ran for president. And this is what I really got out of running for president. We really, old people, and I know I look much younger than my age. And thank you so much. But I'm saying is older people are totally hosing younger people, and younger people will not unite. They're just getting tattoos and doing short-term things, for the most part. The
Well,
people,
again, they're not learning this in school. They have no
right? The
knowledge.
schools stink.
Don't even care to have any knowledge. And I was called in a political talk radio station. Then we'll move on to the last subject after this. And I spoke about Trump and the debt
Yeah.
and the deficit. And someone that was a big Trump supporter, a woman, she said, "Well, if you can't afford this and that, then get 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever it takes."
Yeah.
And I'm saying, how many hours do we have in a day? Do we have 48 hours in one day now? Is that
Yeah.
how it's changed? And not even just that, they don't give a crap about anybody. And you see this with the old people that I see around Florida. They don't give a crap about anybody. It's all about them,
Yeah.
and that's it. And
It's a
they
very
want to
selfish.
take and take and take. I worked for it. It's mine.
Yeah.
It's not that. Yeah, you worked for it. It is yours. But make sure the kids and the grandkids and the generation growing up has it too. They don't give a shit.
They do not. I mean, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen where as people know, I have 6 children and I spend my life, I retired over it. I stayed home over this cancer, not to build me up, but I'm going to make sure my children have a better life. Now, I've been blessed. I've done a lot of things, but I grew up in a family that was very dysfunctional. But the older people just don't care. And the younger people won't unite to say, no, you're screwing us. And this is going to be a break. A break point will happen in the next year, I think. It's really going to break. When I talk to you, we are having higher real interest rates, right? And it's just going to keep happening until the whole thing breaks. And then we finally try to solve the problem. But it would have been so much easier if someone had been a leader to just pick one of the $60 trillion problems, like, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And Social Security is the easiest one to fix, except for this one fact. It will cost more to fix it, so you get it.
Yeah, it's truly sad what's going on in the country. I don't know if you heard about this, but I've been studying about this because, there's a lot of talk about Iran and also the United States, as there should be. But the last question, and I wanted to bring this up to you,
Yeah.
is Germany's really building up right now. They're
Sure.
building up their military. It's almost like, and they have a leader right there now in their country where it's like Trump 2.0. And they're building up their military. Last time we saw this was right before World War II, and obviously they really took control. They have the strong, and no one in Europe, no one in NATO's doing anything. Trump was leaving NATO, so he doesn't really give a crap about that. He's probably happy that a psychopath is leading Germany, and Russia is, supposedly our enemy now. They're the only ones that are hated. But the Germans hate them, they hate the Germans, and they're kind of the buffer zone now from Germany starting a Third Reich. So, what is your take on that? Because again, we have issues with Russia, Well, now we have to worry about issues with Germany. You know, how do we
So,
play this in the middle here?
well, first, a step back. When Trump's first term came, he did some things that started people in NATO to spend some more money. They were not carrying their weight. Now, there's a lot of advantage of America always securing all the waterways around the world. A lot of advantage to Americans of then saying we're going to do this, and allies help. They don't help the way we'd like. They don't, but they did. Now with Trump, let's call it the second term, we have a situation where, by the way, Ukraine is winning the war, taking territory every day. People don't even want to talk about it. Ukraine has like redesigned drone warfare and actually went into Islamic countries, Saudi Arabia, etc., and helped them defend against what's happening with Iran. So it's amazing what they've done, Ukrainians. So, but back to this. Now you have now like a schism, a break, right? Now we're still in NATO. Don't get me wrong, but Russia's mistake was getting Finland and Sweden into NATO. Those countries are ready to fight and do one thing. They're ready to fight Russia. They're only set to do one thing, and they control that Baltic Sea area. So bad for Russia, good for America. But Trump's made the mistake of like attacking them too much to the point where Germany, as you say, Germany's taking entire auto plants that are the size of all the way you can see out there. And they're going to be now making tanks. And only the Germans can really do this efficiently. They're the industrial power. That's why the EU was created. It was created so Germans can screw Greece, which they have for years, right? And finally, Brexit came for the UK to get out, because they were kind of getting, they thought, and I think rightfully so, they should have gotten out, even though people would disagree with this. But the real schism happens when, yes, we don't really have a NATO. The French do their own thing. They always have, by the way. They build their own missiles. They fly their own planes. They have their own nuclear power, right? But the Germans build up, and now are we, let's say 7 years. Are we back to them fighting with each other? I don't think we know. But it's always a dangerous thing for the world when Japan and Germany rearm. And that's what's happening right now. It's a dangerous
And we'll
thing.
end there, but I'll tell you what, Steve, it's truly sad that it seems like there's so many big issues, not just in this country, but around the world. And the president just talks about nonsense.
Yeah, and let me leave you with
behavior.
there's one last thought about the international part. The Germans and the Europeans have reacted wrongly to what Trump has done, the two major things he's done to them. When he put tariffs on Germany, they should have been very quiet and doubled the tariffs coming back until he had to relent, because the tariffs on Europe were stupid, just dumb, right? Second, when he went into Iran, the only thing the Germans should have done, instead of the leader saying you're a terrible leader, President Trump, whatever he says about President Trump, they should have said, how can we help? And just helped a little, like they always helped a little, right? Instead, they decided not to help. We couldn't land in, on stopovers in these different countries like we always have. They've reacted the wrong way both times to Trump. It's stupid on their part, and it's going to hurt them in the long run. Anyway, let's end on that. But that's their problem.
Steve Laffey, SteveLaffey.com. Definitely pick up the book and